Hi everybody, thank you. My name is Sarah Sullivan from Winthrop. John and Kay Sullivan, my family from Winthrop, say hey. Thank you, Rep, for working with us on this. I'm here to ask for your support on a bill that's going to come before you this year, Reps David Smith and Senator Rodriguez, to legalize naturopathy and reinstate the license for naturopathic doctors in Florida. This issue is personal to me. At 25, I fell sick with debilitating chronic illness. I was working in DC at the time, and no MD or specialist in Florida or DC could help me out. But thankfully, my mom knew about the profession of NDs, and she connected me to one in DC. We worked together for many, many years, and now, thanks to that hard work at 36, I've got my health back. NDs are a distinct class of primary care physicians who are licensed in half the country. In Florida, they're no longer licensed, and we're actually worst in the state because we're one of two states where the profession is actually illegal. And this is just a legacy of bad policymaking in 1958 when the license for NDs were sunsetted and a poor language was left on the bill that left it illegal. NDs do live in our state. Frankly, they live in terror of the state, and they practice under other monikers like health coach. But I think we would all agree that it would be better not to have a medical profession in the shadows. It's personal to me again because I recently met and got engaged to the love of my life, who just happened to be an ND. I convinced him to move from Washington, where he's a beautiful licensed doctor, to Florida, where his profession is illegal. He went to medical school, has $400,000 in debt to prove it, and he said, baby, the only thing they tell you in medical school is don't move to Florida. And I said, well, if you move here, I'll work to change it. At a time when so many are sick, we have a provider gap, and we have doctors in hiding. Let's bring them out of hiding and help get us well. Happy to take any questions.
Representative Alvarez.
Quickly, could you talk about the training of these kind of doctors and why do we call them doctors?
Absolutely. They go to accredited medical schools that are accredited by the Department of Education. There's 5 in the nation. They go to medical schools that are comparable in scope to MD schools, but of course the scope is slightly different. They study pharmacology just like MDs do, and anatomy and physiology and all that kind of stuff. But what's different is that they have a wider scope of practices that they study, so it's less time on pharmacology than an MD school. But for example, nutrition courses are mandated where they're not an MD school. That's part of the curriculum. And they also study other interventions like supplementation and herbs and manual therapy. So they have a broader toolkit of how to help. Yeah, 4 years of medical school.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to hear you at the Passing Foundation as well, so I appreciate you getting out there and obviously raising awareness to an issue and hearing what you're saying. It definitely strikes us like, okay, I want to learn more. So would an ND be more closely aligned with a DO than an MD, I'm assuming? And that may not be a fair comparison. Obviously, one's allowed in Florida currently and one's not.
Sure.
So, out of ignorance, I just want to kind of draw the connection and maybe the distinctions between MD, DO, and ND, and I know that's a broader conversation.
Well, I have a colleague who's a chiropractor. I'm going to let you answer that, Dr. Stillwagon, but I'll just say how a good way to think about them is that they're the doctors who are really the bridge between conventional medicine and alternative medicine, so they can speak right alongside an MD about oncology and anatomy and all that kind of stuff. But because they're also trained in herbs and supplements, they could also speak with the herbalist or the homeopath or that kind of stuff. So they're really the conventional medical doctor who could translate between the two worlds. And so in that way, they do study some, and some MDs do practice some manual manipulation, which DOs also practice, but I would say that's not the biggest thing you see out of NDs. So in that way, I'd say maybe more similar to DOs than MDs.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Sarah.
Senator Rasan.
I just want you to know that your grandfather, Gardner Beckett, would be so proud of your advocacy today. And for you who don't know, the Stetson College of Law gives away the Gardner Beckett Award to the senior that writes the best paper on civil rights. And Gardner was known as a great civil rights lawyer who actually represented Omali Yeshitela, who tore down a very racist mural in City Hall of St. Petersburg and spent a year in prison before Gardner was able to get that conviction overturned on First Amendment grounds. But he would be very proud of your advocating today.
Oh, thank you so much, Senator Eastman. Thank you.
And I just want to say her dad's not a bad lawyer either.
Well, we won't tell him that, though.
But thank you for your advocacy. I've known this family a long time, and let's get together in Tallahassee and get
That
something done.
sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you all.
Jake Hornstein?